Welcome to the LOCUS Golden Hour podcast. This podcast is about sharing stories, advice, tips, and all things surrounding university and student life. I'm one of your hosts, Kristina, and we have our other host, Lina, and our very amazing and special guest, Tyler. Welcome, Tyler.
Woo! Thank
Woo!
you. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So Tyler is one of our LOCUS alumni. He attended the... Actually, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, Tyler?
It's one of my favorite pastimes, so I
Okay.
will I will talk about myself. My name's Tyler. I'm Tyler B. Tyler Britz. I was in Locus all 4 years. So I started off just as a student. I was on the House Council, and I was Don for 2 years, and then in my last year, I was a marketing exec, the marketing exec for Brantford, and also a Don. And I'm in the future about to start work with the Office of Off-Campus Initiatives. So within Laurier, that was yes, woo. Uh,
Yay!
I also I like to talk. That's a good. That's my intro.
That's why we brought you back. Tyler just graduated again. Congratulations. We
Yes,
Thank
wanted to
you.
congrats.
have you back right away. We needed your complete advice because today's gonna be our topic is just advice with alumni. So Tyler's gonna spill all the beans, everything you need to know about, Laurier in general, first year tips, everything you want to know. So yeah, thanks for joining us today, Tyler. So before we begin, we'll actually start off with a fun little icebreaker question to kind of get to know you a bit better. So, what food or dish represents you?
Wow. I'm prepared to answer this because this is my favorite. I full circle back to my intro and also the reason I'm here. This was the icebreaker question I always asked first years. First day during a week, I would ask this because even if you don't answer, like even if you're like, "Ooh, I don't know," I can get you to answer. And everybody, a
No
lot of people just say
way.
potato. Dinner food, burrito, 100%. I'm large and I'm full of stuff, and of course everybody's full of stuff, organs, thoughts. You can go as literal or figurative, but I'm full to the brim. I like to say of everything. So I live life to the fullest, and I'm large like a burrito. So that's my answer.
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
So Tyler, how has life been after graduation? Do you have any like fun stories to tell us, like what you've been up to since?
Well, you guys caught me on a good day, so I'll give you a little rewind. What have I done since? Almost nothing. and and I can say in the best way possible, almost nothing, because when you're in school, I don't know, you get caught up in it. So you've been in school since kindergarten, unless you took that gap year that some people take between, or maybe a few gap years. There's a lot of mature students, stuff like that. Uh, it's been good doing nothing, like just not having to worry about deadlines, not having to worry about like being present at school has been pretty good. First time I've had a real break that's not summer or Christmas since kindergarten. So feels pretty good. Um, I also worked at a large national grocery chain, the one that's large and yellow and uses a banana as the logo. It's a no
Mm.
frills. I don't know why I'm playing coy. And on the day of recording, I actually just worked my last shift there. So this is you guys caught me on a good day here. That was yeah. So
Oh wait, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations then.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's pretty much it, and it's been great. So that's kind of my positive spin on it. The negative spin is that it's a hard change from having structure to no structure, but you gotta look for the good before you look for the bad.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess with that change, like how have you been organizing or like trying to time manage then if you have all this flexibility?
I feel like that's a hard question to answer because I'm a procrastinator. Oh no,
Me
that's the
too.
the bad thing. I'm a procrastinator. I leave literally everything to the last moment. So I've had some things like I've had to get my car fixed. I've had like a dentist appointment, a haircut, and it's hard to not just leave them to the very last minute when there really is no repercussions besides my own shame. Like, oh, I was supposed to get my haircut last week and I just didn't because I forgot. It's not like I forgot to hand an essay and I failed. Uh, Now that I'm saying that out loud, that sounds incredibly sad. I know how to personally groom myself. I am 22 years old. That haircut was merely an example. Moving on from that, hopefully.
Okay, well, Tyler, let's just get right into it. What is the number one tip, the number one advice you would give to the first years listening to this podcast, or any, Laurier students?
My answer to that question is something I've said many times, something I'll tell anybody anytime. It's listen to the cliches. And to unpack that is when I was in high school, sitting in the auditorium, hearing about how horrible university is, air quotes horrible. Oh my God, things are so bad. Blah, 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 blah. You're going to need to keep track of dates. You're going to need to be on your own and learn how to be independent, etc., etc. You get to university on the first day. They're going to say, plan out your syllabi. They're going to say, study ahead of time. They're going to say, don't leave things to the last minute. And it may sound like a cliche, and it also it may sound stupid, but people are telling you those things because they're true. In first year, first week, I was like, none of that stuff matters. I'm different. In high school, I didn't even have an agenda. I just remembered the dates in my head. And then it's going to hit you like a wall. And then you're going to go, oh yeah, that is why they tell you those things. So listen to listen to the advice you're given. You're not better than anybody else in many, many regards. Maybe you are. You are in a university, and so clearly you're, I don't want to say you're better than people. you clearly have academic talent and drive. So, and you need to know how to use that properly. And there's guidance available, and you need to listen to it, because there's going to come a time where you're going to think you don't, and there's a reason that is advice. That's kind of what it boils down to. Is there's a reason that that advice is there, and it's because it works. They wouldn't tell you it if it didn't work.
That's
so
true.
All the baseline stuff that you're going to hear 1,000 times, you heard at the end of high school, and you're going to hear in your first year, it's true.
That is so true. I never thought of it that way, though. I think it kind of encompasses everything into one.
Yeah.
Like a burrito.
Wow, we went full circle. And just, I know you guys have other questions and things, but there's another side of the coin to that. Is there's like many rules in life, A before E except after C. I don't think that's what it is. Regardless, fake rule. It's made up. Is there some that are not necessarily always true, but it's easy to tell, because also in high school, before I went into first year, they told you that university was a scary, horrible place, and you were just a number, and everybody hates you, and if you fail, there's no one there to catch you. And that's a lie. It's because there's always a good support network, and there's things like that that aren't true. But it's easy to discern. So cliches that kind of trend to the personal, in your own personal initiatives, those are more accurate, and you should listen to them. I don't know if cliche is the best words, but I've told that to so many people, I stick with it. Yes.
I was gonna say, in addition, I feel like you can listen to the cliches, but also tailor it to yourself. Like when people talk about whatever work ethic, you can, like, maybe an agenda doesn't work for them, but like having it on their wall works for them, like different things, so
yeah.
It isn't like one way to do it, but it's good to listen to cliches.
I said agenda like I'm in the 7th grade. Maybe I should say like the date book, or like a Google Calendar. Like keeping things organized is what agenda meant.
Yeah,
for sure.
So going off of that, what is the best advice that you've received? So that's advice you would tell the first years, but what's the best advice you've received? Is it sort of the same thing, or?
Honestly, no, because I don't think anybody sat me down and told me that. I think I learned that the hard way through failure. Best advice I've ever received, probably that, okay, this is, you people have definitely heard this before, but let me unpack it. What do you call a doctor who got 50% on the doctor's exam? Doctor. Okay.
I was really confused there. I was like, what is happening?
I was like, is there a punchline that I missed?
I don't know who, like, I don't know, nobody specific. I didn't have some mentor who told me that. It's just, I've been told that hundreds of times, is that grades aren't everything,
Mm,
and it's especially important for first years or first or second years. When you're going to get to university, your grades might drop from high school. Okay. And you got to know that it's okay. As long as your average is enough to stay in your program, as long as your average is high enough to graduate, it doesn't matter. So, you take a hit, first few months you take a hit. Later down the road, second semester, second year, something bad happens to you, maybe you're off your game. It doesn't matter. The only person that's going to beat you up for it is yourself. And well, maybe if you're like failing, then, but like on a day-to-day basis, like you bomb one assignment because you had to focus on something else. God forbid that ever happen, just, but if it, if and when it does, the only person who's going to eat at you is yourself. And that's kind of the freedom and the independence that university affords, is you have to hold yourself accountable, but you also have to remember to be nice to yourself because it's hard.
Yeah.
wow.
And
I
like,
feel like I needed that advice right there.
yeah.
Hands down, good advice right there.
And then, like, even then, if your grades aren't the best, you can still learn a lot, even if your grades aren't the best. Like, academically, in life, like, within the years that you're at school, like, I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was at the very beginning of university. And it's only
Mhm,
been 2 years so far.
for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of my high school teachers actually was saying like, you go to university to learn, you know. Um, you're there, it's a whole experience. University isn't just like school. There's like so much more to it, like we were saying, like meeting friends and like getting to know yourself and like I don't know, figuring out who you are and your interests and the things that you're good at, right? So I think it's like so much more than just, getting good grades or just like focusing on school for sure.
So, do you guys have a favorite Laurier memory? Like, because you spent like 4 or 5 years at Laurier, Tyler?
Four
Four
big ones.
years?
Well,
Like,
three and a half plus, or I guess, yeah, 3.5 or 2.5 plus 1.5 from my room.
okay. Yeah, true. Do you have any favorite Laurier memories? Like a
Favorite
single story or like,
too many,
yeah, yeah, there's a lot to pick
too
from.
many. Um, okay, I'll start off with something. Um, okay, I'll throw up one or two here, but one, I'm gonna say it. I'm a Brantford man. I'm a Brantford student here, and just for any of our Waterloo listeners, you're valued. We love you, but I'm just gonna give a very Brantford specific answer for real
Yes.
quick. Laurier Brantford, right in the downtown of Brantford, obviously. Hopefully, you know that. Um, I'm a big nerd. There is so much history in the city of Brantford, and if there's one thing I've learned through there is that I have learned so much history about the city of Brantford, and there's so much cool stuff literally on campus. Like the res buildings are in buildings that are historically significant, not just to Brantford, but to the wider region, to Canada. It's rad, it's cool. That is one of my favorite Laurier memories. It's just kind of exploring and learning. Also, everything's
Mhm.
so much stuff in walking distance, walk around. General Laurier memories. Um, Oh, that's actually a pretty hard question because I did a lot of stuff. Some would say too much. I really needed that agenda. Um, favorite Laurier memory is, I'm going to say the cliche to echo back to our further earlier conversation, getting involved. When I was in first year, I was like the first week, I knew some people before. Like I knew, actually used to work with them at the job I just quit today. Whoa, full circle right
Wow.
back to the start of the conversation. Um, I knew them, and we kind of hung out together, so I wasn't really forced to try to make new friends right away. And then my locust on kind of talked me into applying for house council, and I like to say that it all went uphill from there because that just kind of spiraled me out into getting really involved with the community and the Laurier community and the Brantford community in general. And that kind of, I don't want to say it changed my life because that sounds like I'm on Oprah, but like it definitely elevated my university experience, to say in a general sense. Was it improved my Laurier experience tenfold, which is actually putting in effort and trying to become part of a larger thing other than just going to the class, reading the reading, doing the test, getting my degree. I feel like it was an experience rather than going to school.
Yeah. I feel like it definitely makes your whole like all years that you're at school even better when you do more than just academics, for sure. Do you feel like you've like met some like lifelong friends in university, or like just had those meaningful relationships?
I mean, I feel like my friends would be offended if I said no. Um, but yeah, like even if I haven't, even if they're not lifelong friends, that's such a life's a long time, people. All right. Like I've met very, very, very good friends that I could call lifetime friends. And personally for me, I I met them through being involved. I met them. I Some of my closest friends I met through the Laurier Brantford History Students Association, and that is because there was 8 of us, and the events were just us hanging out, and also sometimes other people would show up. But I met a lot of good friends. I've also made a lot of friends through Locus, and I also made a lot of friends. Like in first year, I met many people in Locus. I probably made the most new connections with everybody is when we went to online, and I was talking to everybody. I talked to people from Waterloo, of course. I've talked to people from Brantford. You meet people. You get out there, and when you're at university, people move in and out really quickly. And this is another piece of advice I like to share. If that okay? I'm not
Yeah,
like
of
going over time or
course.
anything, is the people, and this might be sound pessimist, but please let me explain. There's usually there's I don't want to say there's 2 types of people, but I'll boil it down to there's 2 types of people. People that will meet their friends during O week or in the first few months and will be friends with those people until the day they die. And then there's the other 70% of people that will make friends in O week or in first year, and by fourth year you're not even going to remember their names. Uh, that's of course an extreme exaggeration, but that
What kind of
happened to me.
person were you?
Out of those 2, I was the type of person, I made a bunch of friends a week, and I was like, "You guys are great." And then like by October, I was like, "What's your name?" I found other friends, and the reason I brought that up was because that's okay. And in high school, you are forced to be friends with people. You might not be forced in the sense that somebody's like, "Hey, Jim, be friends with Joe." You're forced to be friends with them because you're in the same room with them for 8 hours a day. So,
For the
you
whole
know,
year.
for the whole year. So I don't, maybe forced is probably the bad word. You're encouraged through being locked in a room with them. Uh, in university, things are more fluid. Your class change, you have short semesters, you're busy all the time, so people come in and out of your circles and your lives, and it's not a bad thing. you
Yeah.
you meet people, you get out there, and it's not like, oh, I hung out with that guy for a week and I haven't seen him. It's April. I hate that guy's guts now. Like, if you walk up to him and be like, hey, remember we had a good time, chances are they're going to be like, yeah, because there's always something there, and that's a feather in your cap. That's a name to remember down the line. Networking and stuff like that. I'm not a business student. I'm not one of those people that's on LinkedIn. Probably should be. I'm an adult. It's 2021. But it's like one of those things. You meet people.
Yeah. There's this analogy that I've been told a lot, that like you're the bus driver of your bus, and there's going to be people that are on your bus, but sometimes it's their stop, so people go off, people go on, and like all of these people, like they leave something behind on your bus and you learn something from them. I don't know if you've seen that TikTok trend before, where it's like the mosaic, like you learn things from all the relationships in your life, and it creates this like beautiful mosaic of what you are because you learn things from them. So yeah, like you, friend groups may change throughout school, even after school. Like maybe you won't keep in touch with everybody, but you'll continue to meet new people and you always learn from them, which I find really cool.
Absolutely.
That was really well
That was
said.
profound. I feel like I'm at a slam poetry reading. This is
That was such a beautiful analogy. What? I've never heard of that, but thank you. I feel like you've put that in words so well.
Life is a bus
Life
on a highway. Life is a highway. A bus on a
is a bus
highway.
on the highway.
did we get all the way back to to Life is a Highway? Great song. Maybe not.
Great song.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I feel like I can relate. Like I made a lot of friends during O week, and then we were like friends for a while, and then a few months in, I was like, oh, like we're just kind of not we don't really work that well together. And then I ended up seeing them less. But then I met other friends, and I do have friends from my first year that I still talk to. They're one of my closest friends. Like, people will come and go, and that's okay. I would say another thing would be like, it's kind of the effort you put in, right? So if you have someone you see in class and you want to really get to know them, but you only see them in class, like maybe ask them to go out for food or like to go to an event with you. Cause I think friendship takes effort, right? Like you need to be able to talk to people and like actually get to know someone. Like you're not going to get to know someone by just talking surface level, how are you, small talk, right? So I would say like put in the effort if you want to get to know someone well, and hopefully, if they do want that too, they can put in the effort and, whatever happens will happen.
Yeah, dive in with the deep talk and be like, so what's your biggest fear? You sit next to them in class.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be so nice.
You sit down, you're in like a 200-person lecture room. There's no one sitting. You don't have to sit next to them. You sit down, you look over, and you just go, so you're afraid of dying alone?
But that might scare them off, but I mean, go for it.
Yeah, this isn't a friendship advice podcast. I didn't think I signed up for this.
On our first episode, we talked about how to make friends, and we said send memes. In this episode, we said ask people what their fear is right when you meet them.
I feel like I feel like you probably shouldn't do that, but like you'd remember that person.
Yeah.
Like, that's a memorable interaction.
This person doesn't want to drown. Okay.
Okay.
No drowning person.
No drowning person.
Noted.
You walk up to them 3 years later, you're in third year. You're like, oh, hey, Joe, you don't like to drown. You walk away.
Yeah. Afraid of oceans. Got it.
I guess this is something I'm curious about. What's something that helped you stay motivated, or how did you stay motivated? Because I know, I guess it's really something that's really new when you're going to university, but I feel like, by exam season or the first time for midterms, like how do you stay motivated to study and then also like being able to balance things as well?
Throughout like your 4 years too.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to give crippling fear of disappointing my family as an answer?
I mean, if that was your motivation.
No, that was only partly a joke. Moving on, how do I stay motivated? Honestly, that was only like kind of a joke. Like I feel like I don't want to disappoint myself, But that's also back to what we were talking about earlier. Everybody's different. Like some people need like kind of forceful motivation, whereas I am motivated solely off of I do not want to be sad when things are bad. So that is what kind of keeps me motivated on a grand scale. On a little scale, it's the good parts of university. And I will spiral this into an actually good answer. You don't get to go out and have drinks with your friends. You don't get to go eat the famous spinach dip at Wilf's. There we go. I'm a Brantford man. I've only had it once. Okay, you don't get to go to Lonnie's for my Brantford friends. Unless you do good, because like that sounds horrible, but like and as I said, you're the only person that can control yourself. You're the only person that's gonna yell at you when you fail one test, type of thing. But you're not gonna have time to do the fun things if you're drowning in work and you're doing a bad job. It gives you motivation. Sorry, Kristina.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say like it feels more rewarding when you can go and get that greasy poutine after you finish your exams.
Absolutely.
It makes it feel better.
Absolutely. Like I just went through 3 hours of hell. Time for an extra large 3-meat poutine. I wonder what 3 meats they're gonna put in it. It's different every time.
Yeah.
I speak from personal experience. It made me sick every time. The meats were different every time. I didn't feel well afterwards every time.
Lonnie's is a good place to go to. You may feel gross after, but it's like a staple. You got to go there at least once if you go to Laurier.
Lina, you're a Waterloo student, esteemed Waterloo colleague. Lonnie's is a Brantford institution. They serve like 40 to 50 flavors of poutine.
Whoa,
a lot.
That's a lot.
They
Yeah.
even have like mozzarella sticks. They sell ice cream,
They
like
just make food on
everything.
top of it. At a certain point, like after number like 25, they're just putting other meals on top of it.
Are
They
you
do
serious?
dessert ones. It's disgusting.
There's
Uh,
a lot.
I
There's a
feel like I'd
lot.
like that.
yeah, and it's like you gotta catch them on a good Friday, day, not Friday. Because
Oh.
yeah, you gotta. Sometimes they change the. You get there right after they change the oil, and those fries are fresh. Mamma mia, that's a good meal. This question was what keeps me motivated.
Fries.
French fries, food's a great motivator.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of. I feel like
Don't deny yourself food if you do bad at school, though.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
sorry. Serious talk. Sorry, Lina. Continue.
No, I was gonna say, like, if you need to stay extrinsically motivated by little rewards, like that's good too. And then like hopefully later on you can become intrinsically motivated by whatever your goals or like whatever motivates you personally. But Kylie, you look really confused.
Just the words intrinsic, extrinsic. These are like you
Oh,
guys
it's
are.
just like internal versus external
Oh, I
motivation.
know, but these are fancy
But-
words. We're
Oh,
throwing
okay.
around, so this is a highbrow podcast. I wasn't aware.
I was just saying, like, I don't know. I feel like motivation is an interesting topic because it's so unique to everyone, as you were saying before. But I always like listening to other people's responses because I don't know. Hopefully, it can inspire myself or even help me find other ways
Yeah.
to stay motivated as well. So hopefully, by listening to this, you find some other ways or even discover more about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I have another question for you, Tyler. What's something you wish you did more of or less of in your time at university?
Ooh, more of or less of.
Mhm.
Ooh. This is. I'm genuinely thinking the reels are spinning in my brain. More of what I did more of. I don't want to say get more involved because I was already pretty involved. Okay, I'm gonna give a pretty candid answer. Okay, and I want people to learn from this answer. Okay, what I did more of, and this is, you guys can boo me if this is nerdy, please do. I wish I did more of the readings. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
And let me explain. And I'm not just saying that because, like, oh, this is a school sanctioned podcast, so I'm like, oh, do schoolwork, you know? It's like in first year, I'm giving you guys the real story. In first year, I didn't do a lot of the readings. If I didn't have to do it, I wasn't doing it. I do it for my English class because obviously you're reading a book, but like, I was in other subjects and I just wouldn't do it because I didn't need to. We're discussing the readings in class. By the time I got to fourth year and I was locked inside my room all day because of COVID, I would do the readings more often. It kind of scaled up as I went through the years, and by fourth year I kind of realized, oh my god, this is so much easier when you do the readings.
Yes.
And listen to the cliche, it's almost as if they give you the readings because it makes it easy.
No way.
It's almost like you're supposed to read readings.
Yeah, and some of the profs, I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. At least in my experience, I had a few profs that knew nobody did the readings, so their lessons were just them talking about the readings, not really like dissecting them. They would literally just tell you the readings in lecture. And if you've already done the readings, things get a lot easier at that point. And it took me longer than I care to admit you really think that I would have realized that when I was bombing LY 100 in first year, but good class. Here's the thing. I started doing the readings by the end of the year, and I was like, oh my god, started learning. We read this one article on like the legality of drone strikes. Super messed up. This is a fluff podcast. Don't know how I brought up drone strikes. Don't know how I got here. But I remember I'm in first semester, and I'm reading this article because I had failed the quiz prior, and I'm reading it, and I was just like, I was like, this is a good read. I was like, I'm learning.
And like, not to like be even more nerdy, but sometimes when you do read readings, you're like, wait, this is actually really cool. Or you watch the documentaries that you're supposed to watch.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting sometimes.
And it's like, Yeah, I'm just imagining some like, buff stereotypical jock turns on the Locus Golden Hour podcast. I'm not doing the reading. These nerds telling me that's what we think is going to happen. We're like, people are going to make fun of us for doing the readings. No one's going to make fun of you. If you do the readings, you're going to do better in school. That's like a fact. Hard
Some
fact.
people might even be like, oh, I wish I was like them. Like to be able to do all the readings and stuff like that.
If you can raise your hand in class and actually dissect what you've read with the prof even in smaller classes, you're probably a step ahead of a large majority of the other students. That's a peek behind the curtain. This got real, this got real, guys.
It also feels rewarding too to know what's going on in class, because sometimes like I wouldn't do the readings and then I'd go to class and feel like, oh, what are they talking about? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
So also helps with like my nervousness if sometimes you get called on
Oh,
when you're just sitting there or whatever. But like when you do the
called on in
readings,
class?
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Well, because
in
sometimes
Brantford, yeah,
it's
classes
smaller.
are really small.
Yeah, especially
Gotcha.
in my program, like already in second year, I had classes the size of like 15 people just for
Mhm.
my program, health admin. So I would get called on sometimes. So it'd be like for my nervousness and anxiety, I'm like, I need to know something I could answer.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
Christina, you said is in a very small program. I was in history, and I think I'm like either the second or most. History was the second or most smallest or
Really?
smallest programs, and like my fourth year seminar was 6 students,
Oof.
and the seminars you just talk about things, and there's a lot of seminar style courses. Sometimes you sign up for a course and you get out on the first day and the prof goes, we're going to run this seminar style, and that means you're going to have to do the readings, because when the prof looks at you and goes, what do you think about this, Tyler? There's a certain point where no matter how good you think you are at BSing, the prof knows. I've been on the end of that before, where the prof pulls you aside and is like, I know you didn't do the readings. And that devastated me. I started doing the readings after that. I won't name names of the prof, but it devastated me.
And I don't know about you guys, but I find like discussions to be more like, I don't know, like stimulating, like educationally, rather than just like writing a test or doing an assignment on your own. I feel like I like
Yeah.
to talk to people.
I
And
think
like,
you remember it more. Like
yeah.
like
Absolutely.
when you're putting it in your own words or like giving your own input, like you're listening to like real life experiences or just like opinions, I feel like it's just more productive, right? I don't know. I know in terms of readings, I can definitely relate to this so hard. Like I also know like if you read the readings beforehand, then in the lecture, it's the second time you're going through the material, so you're more likely to like remember or understand it. Like this is like science stuff that like
Yeah.
the that the Learning Education Center has like talked about. Like you do want to do your readings. It helps so much. I definitely noticed that too, like when I would do my readings, and then it just makes sense when the professor's talking.
It helps an amount to the point where if you don't do the readings and then you start doing the readings at a later date, it is a noticeable difference in how well you will comprehend any subject.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then like nerd gears just being in my head. I feel like I want to go to class. It's so weird. I'm talking about this. I'm like, I want to go back to school now.
I
I'm
don't
not gonna think
sympathize
I
with
wanna
that,
go.
but
As someone who's in school right now, I'm good. I'm doing a lot of readings right now. I think like if you find that you're struggling to do all your readings in class, I don't know if anyone else has any like tips, like
oh yeah.
at least skim through the chapters, look at the learning objectives, write down any questions you think you may have, write down the definitions or things that that pop out while you're skimming. Like at least try to do like a little look through, because again, it will help you in the long run.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point to make, and that's something I should have addressed when I brought up this topic. Was it's hard to do all the readings, and you
Yeah.
may have to prioritize some. Like
Mhm.
certain classes you're doing worse at, or certain classes you have a better mastery of the subject. Maybe you can skim those ones, because as you'll be told a million times, and it's something you should listen to, is you have to take care of yourself. So a prof might expect you to do 3 hours of lecture a week and I don't know, what is it, like 6 hours of reading they expect you to do, or out of class? I don't know. You guys both shrug your shoulders. I don't remember. They tell you that if you're
It's a
listening to
lot.
this and you're in first year, somebody will have told you this within the first week. Like, I expect you to do 3 hours of in class and 6 hours outside of class. That's impossible. Um, unless you are some sort of human robot hybrid. That's impossible. You need to have friends. You need to eat
Mhm.
the greasy fries, and you need to
Socialize.
yeah, or you
Have a
won't.
life.
Yeah, you won't make it the 4 years. So you need to prioritize what's important, what's not important. What reading can I do in order to do it well on the exam? What reading can I skip because I already learned this in a different class, or I already know it just because it's simple.
Yeah, I mean, university can be a balancing act, and I think it takes a while to figure out, like, how to balance things, but I feel like you'll kind of learn along the way, like, time management strategies, and kind of like how to deal with all of that, like, with everything coming your way with assignments and like homework and everything, and trying to, balance that work life balance. I said the word
Balance the work-life
balance a
balance.
lot.
To go back to like the question of what you wish you did more of or did less of, for me in my like the last 2 years I've been at university, I wish I did like, even though we just talked about doing more readings, I feel like I did a little less or spent less time just studying and more time with friends, because I was pretty much shut in my first year, I feel like. And I'm so thankful that I had friends that were persistent and be like, please just come hang out, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have. But like, yeah, finding that balance between hanging out with friends, studying, yeah, different for everybody too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it can, yeah, like, I think for me, something I want to do more of is like, I would say, like, get out of my comfort zone more. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty like, somewhat outgoing introvert for someone who's very socially anxious and introverted, but at the same time there are some things I feel like limit me because I'm scared. But I think once I do it, I'm like, why was I nervous about that? Or like, why was
Mhm.
I scared about that? No one, first of all, no one cares. No, I don't want to say this in like, I want to put this in the
Say it.
nicest way possible.
Preach.
Ah! I just want to say, like, people don't care about you, as in, like, they don't care what you're doing.
No one
So, like,
cares. No one
if
cares.
you're scared that someone's gonna judge you, they're probably not even looking at you.
People are too
Um,
preoccupied with themselves already. Anyways.
exactly.
It is a liberating moment when you realize that people will care about you when you need help or when you ask for help. Otherwise, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So do whatever the heck you want. And don't be afraid that people will judge you. And if they do, like, that's not your problem. Like, you shouldn't really care about that. You just keep
Absolutely.
doing you, whatever.
That's, I think, if to put everything that we've discussed in one box, is university is about learning, and the number one thing you need to learn is who you are. And who you are as a person, you have to strike up a balance of work, life, social, and all this advice we just said could be absolutely bunk to you because you're the outlier and you need a different style of life, and that's okay. There we go.
And
Snaps.
it's, yeah, snaps. And it's not something you'll figure out right away too.
Oh,
It
it
can
takes a
take you
long
your whole,
time.
like, yeah.
You will make mistakes, you will fail. Oh gosh, I've like the failure, it's fine. But you're gonna stand back up, you fall in, you get back up how many ever times you need to, and you'll just continue, and that's okay.
Failure is feedback. I like that
Ooh,
Oh,
quote.
that's a good one.
Failure is just feedback.
I love that.
That's a, do you guys have any other questions?
I guess we have one more question we can ask before we start
Mhm,
to wrap this up.
mhm.
But did you have some sort of bucket list that you could give people to do before they graduate? Or at least like you could answer as many as you want, or just like one thing you need to do before you graduate, like
One thing you
around the
absolutely need to
city,
do.
hidden gems.
Okay, I'm the hidden gem guy in Brantford. I'm not. I shouldn't say that. People yell at me. I say things are institutions. Fun fact: if you listened at the top of the hour earlier in the show, if you, I said that I was the marketing exec last year for Locus, and I was in charge of Beeford Fridays, which is I shouted at a local business, local place to go. So those are, I don't think that those are still up anywhere, but if they were and you could see them, you could see that almost every week I called every single thing a Brantford institution, because that's the only way I describe things.
Wait, what does that mean? What does
Like
that even mean?
It's an institution. It's a cornerstone of the community. Like it's
Okay.
a place that people know, you know? I don't know. That was a bad example.
So what were you saying?
So what I'm saying is that I know a lot of places and I will tell a lot of places, but also I everybody's experiences are different. My number one thing to do on Laurier Brantford, if we recall, was to read about the history of the city. So I'm a very niche example. Number bucket list. Ooh, go to the Grand River. It's so close to the Brantford campus and it's so beautiful. You go there in the winter. One time, me and my friends in the winter first year, we got a bunch of those parachute army men and we just started throwing them around. And I felt like I was 6 years old, but also it was right near the end of first year. So like things were like, or I think actually it was the start of second year. So things were crazy and hectic, but like it was just one of those things where like, you know, you got to feel like a kid for a little bit. That's a bucket list, is a bucket list item, is chill out. Like, you know, this is the last time in your life. I don't want to say hard last time. This is one of the last times in your life where you will be encouraged to act like a child. And even though you're 20 years old, and don't act too cool for that. That's the second last bucket list item. Chill out. Number one. Number two, you're not too cool to be involved with your community and have fun.
I like that a lot. I think I need to remind myself that.
That
Yeah.
you're not cool, because this is a positively uplifting podcast. You're cool. You're cool.
Like, it's okay to like go have fun and be like a child sometimes.
Yeah. That's like a thing. That's like a real thing. Like when you're an adult, like just chill out. Like, and as previously said, no one cares. Like adult life's hard. The world's on fire. Relax. Like
also, Brantford sunsets, especially in fall time, I don't know what it is, but they're so beautiful. They hit a little different.
In general, to give a less Brantford for perspective, talk to your professors, and I mean in a non-academic sense. If I'm going to be a real bootlicker, I'm going to be like a real love the school. Your professors are cool people. They're professors because they know things and they'll talk to you. You know, you might be in a class with 300 people. If you go to their office hours and you're like, I have a question about this, they're cool people. Like there's a reason that they've gotten that far. And I don't want to say every single one of them's cool, rad, go out for drinks with them. You might have some jerk professors. But chances are, if you talk to them, you're going to come away with something.
Yeah. They're human beings. They're real
people.
They're people. They have lives. They have lives outside of school as well. So, you know, they're actually pretty cool once you get to talk to them.
And most of the time when they're in their office hours, they're waiting for someone to come talk to them.
Absolutely.
They are. Yeah.
I had a prof in first year, and every single time I went to her office hours, she always knew that no one came to her office hours, so she would eat lunch. And one time, I think I went to her 3 times in the semester, and all 3 times she was eating something. And by the 3rd time, she was like, I just eat because I don't think anybody's gonna come to these. She was eating cereal, and she was like, she was just mowing down, and she was like, I didn't think anybody was gonna show up, and I was like, I did.
Did you eat cereal with her?
I did not. But I was like, I failed the last quiz. Please help me. And you know what?
Brought her some cereal.
She helped me.
It's almost as if she was supposed to do that.
It's almost as if that's what she gets paid a lot of money every year to do. Oh my God.
It's almost like they want to help.
You cracked the case, everybody.
Well, I think those were all of our questions for you today, Tyler. Thank you for sharing your amazing wisdom with us and just sitting down and talking to us.
Thank you for having me. I love to talk. I got real. I got a little silly. You know, what can I say? I did the 2 emotions.
Very on brand for Tyler.
I think it is. If anybody who's listening to this has ever met me. Hi, Mom. My mom's not going to listen to this.
Tyler, do you have any last words for our listeners here? We talked about a lot of things, but anything else you want to mention?
Not really. I think I really hit most of my major points to get through the first years. Just, have a good time. It's all right. It's going to go by before you know it. And you're going to be in your fourth year sitting on a podcast with people being asked how to better spend your time. So, how to better spend your 4 years. So, blink and you miss it. Have a good time. Listen to the advice of others.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Well,
I'm thumbing up. I don't know if this is an audio or a video podcast. I'm giving a thumbs up.
Well, thank you again, Tyler, so much for coming on here, sharing your wisdom. Hopefully, we can have you back another time. And remember, if you want to listen to our podcast, make sure you subscribe, follow, leave a good review on Apple Podcasts. And until next time, stay golden.
Bye.
Bye.
Amazing. Thank you. Woo!